Hey, everybody, how are you? This is Freddie Ewan, two-time GM of the Year, reigning Pantheon Cup champion, current host of the Tpffkal Daily Show. We got some great things coming for you tonight. This is going to be awesome. Our first special guest. I am excited for this one. It was not easy to get him on, but I got him on. He agreed to come on. You guys are going to love this. This is the guy who really needs no introduction. One of my favorite people in the world. Great GM, had a rough year last year, but the guy's going to do great things this year. Trust me. My arch rival in fantasy football. Everyone loves the banter and everything, but we're going to hear a lot of good things from him today, and a lot of great strategies too, as I'm sure. And here he is, the one, the only, Brian.
Hey, Freddie. Thank you for inviting me to your show. I'm a big fan. Very happy to be your first live guest.
This is awesome. I mean, I'm psyched. I reached out to your agents today. They said you were a little busy. You're going to be able to give us maybe, 6-7 minutes, but we got you now. So it's all good things. This is really exciting for the show and everything. Thank you so much for being on, Brian.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to get straight to it. I'm going to start asking you some questions. The first question that I really want to ask you, and really, obviously it's still on everyone's mind, is, 2 years ago when the inauguration year of the Tpffkal, you came on, you drafted two quarterbacks very quickly. You drafted Tom Brady, who was coming off an MVP season the year before, Aaron Rodgers, who was coming off an MVP season. I had no idea what you were doing. I thought it was crazy, but it seemed like it turned and it worked out. So I just want to know what your thought process went through when you did that.
Yeah, well, it was definitely something that we didn't plan on. I've been playing, fantasy football for 25 years. I've never drafted two, top 10 quarterbacks, to be on my roster. To be honest, I got invited to the league less than 24 hours before the draft. Didn't really get a lot of planning in. Didn't really know, who I was drafting with, who they'd be going after, what valued positions. And I ended up, trying to help elevate some prices on some quarterbacks, and I ended up with two great ones. But it did really work out for us. We did make the playoffs. We did kind of start a new type of strategy that was effective just this last year, and something that we'll probably look at trying to implement once again.
And the one thing that I noticed is that I didn't notice is that there was the quarterbacks get 2 extra points usually for a passing touchdown, and there's really there's teams that adopted that strategy last year and were successful with it. Chicken of the GM, I know he had like a bunch of quarterbacks on his team. He ended up making a big trade at the end of the year, got himself into the playoffs. That really kind of parallels into my next question. I think this guy is in for a major season. I think he's going into his third year. He's the guy that you picked up in the offseason to keep is down there in Jacksonville, the number 1 overall pick a couple years ago. He's got Calvin Ridley on the team. He's got Evan Engram. Kirk is back there. Made the playoffs last year. Big comeback against the Chargers. And Lawrence really turned it on at the end of the year. Tell me what you think of Lawrence, why you really wanted to go after him, and what you expect from him.
Well, as you know, we were very disappointed on how this last season turned out for us. We went right to work, with our scouts and our analysts, trying to kind of go through all the talent, look to see who we could end up trying to acquire in the offseason and who we needed to target. But yeah, Lawrence had a great year. He was available, and we thought that we could get him, below the market value, and I believe we did. Not only did we pick him up, which is going to be a great addition to our team, but we also picked up a couple of other folks that we thought were really good undervalued players with Cam Akers and Rachaad White. So we don't have any I wouldn't say any elite marquee players yet, but we're looking to acquire some here soon.
And you got a ton of cap room going into the year, a ton of cap room. I was thinking, as well as, as you can see, obviously I'm a diehard Philadelphia Eagles fan, bleed green. I've known you for a long time. You're a diehard Seattle Seahawks fan. I'm going to ask you, the first question I want to ask is, you're from West Virginia. How the hell did you end up to be a Seattle Seahawks fan?
That's a very interesting question. I do get that quite often. And the history on that is, growing up in West Virginia, everybody was either a Pittsburgh Steelers fan or a Cincinnati Bengal fan. I didn't really feel like I was connected to either team because they weren't from West Virginia. So I started out just watching all football. I was just an NFL fan, and I do remember having a black and white TV in my room. Whenever I would come in on the weekends and I would turn on, I only got one channel. This was back in the late '70s, and I only got NBC. And of course, in the afternoons it was always the the AFC West. You had a brand new team, the Seattle Seahawks, with Jim Zorn and Steve Largent slinging it around and really doing some great things on the Pacific Northwest, and I just became a fan. It reminded me of Fran Tarkenton, and I'm a huge Jim Zorn fan, and of course, Steve Largent, Hall of Famer. Nobody was a Seahawks fan. I enjoyed watching them play. They were scrappy, and I've been a fan since 1976.
Wow! And how many stadiums have you been to where you've seen the Seahawks play?
We just finished 14 stadiums. We're planning on going to 3 more this year. We're planning on going to see them play in Cincinnati, and we're also going to San Francisco and here locally in Baltimore. So we're going to be able to check 3 more stadiums off that list.
What's your favorite stadium?
Well, obviously, I'm a huge Seahawks fan, so I love going to the home field. But I would say, I mean, again, being a huge NFL fan, seeing the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field, it was just magical. Luckily, it was September, so I didn't have to experience those temperatures. But man, oh man, I love going to Lambeau. I really love going to Soldier Field. That was pretty iconic. That was a night game, and it's just fantastic. I just love doing that. I love going and touring the stadiums and trying to get all the history. I'm just a fan.
Absolutely. Bringing that into fantasy football, it's I'm in a ton of leagues. I play DraftKings. You want to root for your football team, obviously, first and foremost, but it's, we're all very competitive when it comes to fantasy football. There is money on the line. What do you do as far as, how do you keep your head away from your heart? Have you ever, I could tell for me, there's times where I want to draft, it's like, I want to draft Deshaun Jackson, but it's probably not a good idea. And, it's like I've seen guys before that are diehard fans and they're on different teams and they have their lineup is that, and they don't end up doing well. So, I mean, I think that's, something to talk about almost, because I think every fan has a little tendency sometimes to, grab someone on their team, and it's usually not the best idea.
Yeah, this is a true story. My first season, 1997, of playing fantasy football, I didn't quite get it, and I went out and drafted a lot of Seahawks. About half of my roster was Seattle Seahawks, and I learned quickly that is not the thing to do. And you're right. I'm using my head, my heart. I want to have my players on my team, but it's tough. You really have to kind of come to terms with making sure you're going to have some marquee or elite players, and we've had some. And if you get your hands on them and play them, that's definitely the way to go.
I can tell you that, and I mean, on the other side of that, like I usually, which is, I don't like drafting Cowboys, it's like, and I don't know if you feel the same way. Like, if you see McCaffrey available on the Niners, you might think twice about, drafting them sometimes. Like, it's hard to do, it's hard to really just say, hey, this guy might play for the Cowboys, but, he's a great player, but I don't think I did a bunch of mock drafts and everything, and I don't think I drafted Dak or CD Lamb once. So it's like, you know.
I know exactly what you mean. There are some times when you're reading about some offenses that are going to be, pretty stagnant and probably won't put a lot of production. I definitely have to think twice about selecting somebody from that team. But a lot of people have said that the Buccaneers are probably going to have a really tough season offensively this year now that Tom Brady is gone. I just have a feeling about Rachaad White, and I think. Yeah, he's going to be the bell cow. I don't think that there's anybody behind him that's going to challenge him for touches. So I think he's going to get a heavy workload. I feel the same way about Cam Akers. I think they're going to possibly have a tough offensive year. Not as bad as the Buccaneers, but I think Cam Akers is the only running back that's really going to get the bulk of those carries too. So I'm looking at them, making a major contribution to our starting lineup this year. They are not going to be, the marquee, back. I'm definitely looking at going and doing some shopping here on September the 6th. So we're looking to compete, but they're definitely going to get some playing time.
You got a lot of guys like, Akers was, I know that, I had Akers, I traded him away to, Zach and, he was horrible, but then I actually picked him back up at the end of the year. And, Akers is, he's got a lot of potential to be a great player. I kept him on the bench. I almost lost in the playoffs by doing that. But, and the same thing with White. White really has the, the opportunity to get a lot of grabs down there.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you, tell me about Vegas.
Oh, Vegas. Yeah, we're very excited to have the third annual Tpffkal LFF draft in Vegas. It kind of came from an idea that I had a draft in Vegas back in 2012. I was a commissioner of my league. It was my final year in the military. I was retiring. Instead of having a retirement party, I basically told the league that we were going to Vegas. We were going to draft. So we went and had a great draft at the Bellagio in a great suite there. We definitely had a couple of days of a lot of fun. 2 years later, ended up doing the same thing, and we went to New Orleans and had another epic event. So destination drafts are definitely a lot of fun. I think this one is going to be really great. We're all going to get in on Wednesday, draft that evening. We're in the Mike Tyson suite at Caesar's Palace. So we're excited about that. On Thursday, we're all going to go to the Monte Cristo Cigar Bar there at Caesars and watch the Thursday night kickoff game. I believe we've got at least about half the league, half the GMs are scheduled to be there, and of course everybody else is going to be online. It's going to be a great event. We're looking forward to it.
Sounds absolutely awesome. So, tough question here. You had a tough year last year. Did the right thing probably. Dumped most of your team, stacked up cap room. Is this a worse to first year? What can we expect from the Virginia Seadogs this year?
I wish I could say that I was that confident, but there's definitely a few teams who've got a lot of salary cap to spend. So I definitely am kind of competing with them just to make sure we get some great players. Even GMs that may not have $200 to spend. There's a lot of great drafters out there, and then there's some folks who do miracles on the waiver wire. I mean, there's, the league is going to be competitive, and I just want to make sure I do my due diligence. I definitely want to continue working with our, scouts and analysts to make sure that we're following all the preseason action. We're wanting to make sure that we're up on who's injured, who might miss some games, who's suspended. We just got to make sure that we, get our ducks in a row, do it right, and get ready for September the 6th.
That's awesome. And I know you got a lot going on. You got the draft coming up. You got all kinds of scouts out there checking out the players. So I'm not going to keep you on too much longer. Just, the commissioner came out with the schedule a couple weeks ago. Your arch rival, who's the current champion, the guy's brash, cocky, talks a lot of trash. You get to play him both weeks 10 and 11. Tell me what that's going to be like.
Yeah, I think it's very unprecedented in this league. We've never had to play anybody back to back. And again, you're going up against the defending champion, the two-time, MVP GM. I mean, it's definitely a tall order. So we know that we've definitely got to be keeping week 10 and 11 circled on the schedule, hanging it up in the locker room for bulletin board material. We got to make sure that we get people amped up and ready to go because it's going to be a great year and there's a lot of competition. But week 10 and 11 are special, and we really want to perform well on those weeks.
Get your popcorn ready for that one, right?
Right on.
I might be in my words, and I don't know what week that is. I think that's like late November, maybe around Thanksgiving, maybe.
It is the first 2 weekends in November, if I'm not mistaken.
All right, yeah. So I might, I don't know. I might be on vacation that week. Let's put it that way. My phone might be dead. We'll see what it's either going to be a great 2 weeks or hopefully it'll be a split. Hopefully it'll be a split, but
I can live with that.
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be exciting. Hey, thanks so much for being our first guest. Hope we can have you back on the show sometime down the road when the season gets going and, get your take on everything. But thanks for your input, your advice, learning about the JW12 quarterback strat and hearing about what the Seadogs are planning for this year.
Thank you very much for having me, Freddie. It was a pleasure. Big fan of the show. Looking forward to coming back. Maybe you can invite me back for rivalry week.
Excellent. That's perfect. That'd be a good time. Thanks so much. Hey, happy scouting and good luck out there.
Thank you. Take care.
You too, Brian.